When I am working, I'm always somehow led back to the terrible beauty of arbitrary rules created by self appointed authority. I sometimes think that my artist statement should be a set of directions to allow your credit card to lapse on your cable company's auto pay system. Call up their customer service, give them your new information, and watch as the fees and failures to update your payment method ensue. Call them again, observe, and definitely feel the series of transfers from department to department. Rinse, repeat. Make a painting about that. I studied writing, poetry specifically, in my 20s. So this idea of creating persona, or as Marianne Moore says, imaginary gardens with real toads in them, just seemed to me to be part of what an artist does. When you write, there are all of these people there with you, audiences, real ones, erroneously imagined ones. And then there's the story or sensibility you're piecing together from all your bad notes, grammarians you didn't listen to all that carefully. Kind of neurotic about some of this stuff. There's this like packaging aspect that I kind of love. There are basically two threads in the work which I can identify, but they're both part of the same thing. The first takes a kind of sailing metaphor, though I think a disrupted one, and imagines both a navigator and a cartographer who pilot a spaceship that has the ability to create the landscape that it flies through. So there's this simultaneous charting and mapping of spaces just now coming into being. It's an impossible and polarized situation, and one that creates a certain frenzy in these two characters. And yeah, it's probably a decent description of what the experience of making a painting is like to some degree. But these sailors, explorers, or whatever you want to call them, they're actually internalized parts of yet another persona who exists in a more specific fictional context of exile. And this persona is the one who makes the images themselves in a confusion of the map, which is, if you think about it, what's already discovered and named, and the navigation, which is an attempt to chart a course in the future. And all the while, he is trying to remember from his exile a place that he longs for, but one that he's never actually seen. But I always want to be careful about pinning things down too much. The self that shows up to make an image or a narration is fluid and multifactorial. I think that maybe my story is one of how a writing process can become an image-making process. The gear that I needed to bring along for that transformation, what I needed in order to construct a platform on which a new practice could stand. Earth memory, the horizon. And I think within the fiction, the idea of an event that changes everything. It's like it's me who needs him to forget everything that I have seen, everything that I know. In Edo-era Japanese woodblock prints, shogunate approval was required for the publication and distribution of the work. And this system of approval was governed by committees who examined each submission according to what are called sumptuary edicts. And these were a complex system of rules for determining whether a print was appropriate for publication. And final approval of the image is indicated by a censor seal, which was called kiwame, which meant approved, or aratame, which meant examine. And these seals were affixed to the print itself. There's something explicit and refreshing about a censorship that presents itself that way. It is what you need when you have found yourself on an island nation or under the lights inside of a pressurized cave far from what's left of the rest of the world. It's a way to mark the fact that it's okay to remember that which you do not know, because that is the risk you take when your own committee arrives at a design they can agree upon for what does and what does not represent an acceptable idea of home.